Daniel's here. Core activity for homeostasis and thereby autonomy and sovereignty for European peoples, genus and species. Social accountability and core activity structured by a concept of unionization, genetic unionization. Okay. I felt that this deserved a clean reading by itself. So I'm going to do that now. The charmed loop of didactic incitement. We have now reached a moment at which we can begin to know something of the process of this phony and crooked disease in the pathway we are following. At present, I don't think there are very many of us, a few thousand maybe. But this is a very extraordinary epoch in which this knowledge is now becoming a part of the thinking of quite a lot of people. Thank God. Gregory Bateson, Paradigmatic Conservatism. Again, when he speaks of God, he's speaking in terms of patterns. I developed this hypothesis, which I call the charmed loop of didactic incitement, as an elaboration of Bateson's double-bind hypothesis. I believe that it is at least a component or aspect of what he was talking about in that statement, specifically where he says, we are beginning to know something of the process of this phony and crooked disease in the pathway we are following. He is alluding to a mechanistic process wherein abuse and exploitation under a phony rubric of, quote, teaching and, quote, lesson giving facilitate quantification of interests accruing to perpetrators, overcoming the borders and boundaries of the victims, while the qualitative niche ecological differences of victims are ground down, any recourse they might take apparently justifying the abuse. Bateson culminates his epic studies with a question. As teachers, are we wise? He added, the road to hell can be paved with bad intentions as well. I propose the charmed loop of didactic incitement as a useful elaboration on Bateson's double-bind theory. The double-bind hypothesis by Bateson in Toward a Theory of Schizophrenia entails a preliminary paradoxic injunction such as, I am a liar, disobey me, or be spontaneous. Secondly, a prohibition of metacommunication, prohibiting talk about talk that might clarify the confusion, particularly to clarify goodwill or lack thereof on the relational level of perpetrator and victim. Third, a tertiary reframing, which prevents escape from the circumstance. For example, a child, as dependent upon their parents, cannot easily escape the field, and is therefore confronted with an intolerable choice between confident in one's own perceptions as accurate, or, on the other hand, a choice for necessary relations. A choice to protect their capacity for sensible judgment or the relationship. As mammals, relationships are profoundly important, and the victim begins to manifest communicological pathologies in a futile attempt to protect the necessary resource of their faculties, as one cannot not communicate. There is no apparent way out. as one proves that the cruelty of didactic incitement is justified, no matter what recourse is taken. And this is where I begin to elaborate with my own hypothesis. Didactic incitement, that is to say, abuse under the rubric of teaching and making one tough, particularly if it is overdone and there's enough contextual force over the victim to keep them from escaping the field, can create a reflexively recursive phenomenon of a pernicious charmed loop. No matter what avenue of escape the victim chooses, they will lose and only add to the warrant of the perpetrator's recursively accruing interests. The charmed loop of didactic incitement. It's going to be a little redundant because I'm elaborating on the double-blind hypothesis. There are some infamous command paradoxes in psychology which are paradoxic. I'm a liar. Be spontaneous. Disobey me. I'm a liar, of course, being the classic liar's paradox. I might add, be a man would seem to be yet another form, as one is taking orders, not really in power, not really the man, are they? I would like to submit the hypothesis that when one is not in a sufficiently powerful position, that they are susceptible to a charmed loop of didactic incitement. Unlike the classic paradox, paradoxia, two faces, this one seems to split four-way and may more characteristically unfold over time. Nevertheless, there is no apparent way out, as one proves that the abuse of didactic incitement is justified, no matter what recourse taken. In the first attempted option, one is a wimp if they do nothing in response. The abuse is justified as one proves their own ineffectiveness. The second option, two, a pig. If they respond, fighting back directly in their self-interest, one justifies the abuse as they reveal their primitive self-interest and lack of restraint. Three, a dupe. If they try to reason and bargain with the inciter, one justifies the abuse in this case, and they risk the most hideous result of sharing the best they have with the persons treating them the worst, in an attempt perhaps to reason with them by sharing resource, perhaps precious resource. For example, a woman giving her virginity to an all too ardently insistent guy. Forms of having the 10 taken in the prisoner's dilemma scenario come into play. In this case, the dupe option. The last attempted option results in the permanent puerile initiate. The instigators, others, could always treat the abuse as a, quote, lesson, and one may be left with little choice, ultimately, but to treat the didactic incitement as an experience not that bad at worst, if not a necessary lesson, or even an inspiration, which takes credit for the achievement, thereby justifying the abuse in this case also. Hence the charmed loop of didactic incitement. I'd like to give the readership a clue, or excuse me, the listenership a clue. It is probably not an impossible situation for the victim in most cases, at least not if granted some time. The perpetrators have to have a quant of power to hold enough contextual force over the victims. However, that will be the benefit of time. To recontextualize the event. Nevertheless, absent that and the leeway afforded in time, great destruction can be visited upon the victim. It's not a trivial matter, and that is why I believe Bateson concludes his epic question with the question, as teachers, are we wise? You wish, Zed Dez says she wishes that I would repeat that sentence, if I wouldn't mind. What I'm probably going to do, because I wanted to keep this clean, is I'll restart the thread. I'll reopen the new stream, but I'll try to answer that question. I kind of tacked that on. I wasn't supposed to introduce examples. But that happened in the third option. There's three bad options in the context of, in the terms of didactic incitement. You're a wimp if you do nothing. You're a pig if you fight back. You're a dupe if you try to, if you issue forth your resources and try to bargain with the inciter. And three, you're a permanent Puerile initiate for having to, in some manner, accept the abuse. You justify it in that case as well. But you were talking, Zed Dez, about the third option, the dupe who issues forth their resources and trying to placate the inciter. In that case, I propose the example of a woman's resource of her virginity, or just her sex period. It doesn't have to be virginity. Her sex period, in order to stop the abuser from alter casting them as a bad person, perhaps. And this is the nightmare scenario in which you are sharing the best you have with the person that's treating you the worst. And that's a woman giving her sex is just one variant of that. I hope that explains it. Does that explain it? No way out of the didactic incitement? Then no, there is. There are ways out, but it might take time, and in some cases, literally getting out. For children, of course, it's going to be very hard, and that kind of situation is where a kind of schizophrenia was proposed by Bateson. And critically, theoretically, with that hypothesis, he took psychology out of the head and into interaction. That's where it becomes very interesting. But no, it's not. It can be very hard, and it may only unfold as a charmed loop over time, but it also unfold its resolution unfold over time with help. And in no way can a man. Well, I'm not saying a man will. A man can give the best that he has to the person treating him the worst in other ways, perhaps, than a woman might. I gave the example of rape exactly, Zed Dez, with you in mind. Anyway, I'm gonna shut this down, and Zed Dez, do you want to? If you want to talk, I'll open a new stream, but you have to tell me now. If you want to come on. So I have to save up enough StreamYard time. I've got. It is interesting. I'm sure countless women have been confronted with this charmed loop. Pernicious charmed loop. Okay, then Zed Dez, I'll be coming back on Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central European time, so that will be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada. If you don't want to talk now, look for us then. I think we'll be with Per Norden from Sweden and Mirth Baron again. Two guys who I don't think that you would find objectionable at all. Snorkel Blog, of course, is on a different schedule, being in Japan, but he will be available in what amounts to mornings, Central European time, and early evenings, Japan. So we have to figure out another time, but for now we'll be looking for Tuesday. And thank you all for listening. Talk to you soon, and bye for now.